Welcome everyone to this month's edition of QB Talks. My name is Bill Murphy. For those of you who don't know me, I go by Murph. I'm an advanced certified QuickBooks Pro advisor and also the senior editor for Insightful Accountant. We have a really special program today because Gita Faust is with us to discuss real estate and property management accounting using QuickBooks. Gita is not only one of my favorite people, but she is certainly an expert among experts when it comes to real estate and property management accounting. She knows more about properly configuring QuickBooks to track multiple properties, multiple owners, leases, rentals, and real estate as an investment than anybody I know. But before I turn over the PowerPoint reins to Gita for her presentation, we have some housekeeping responsibilities. As always, we have to begin by saying a big thank you to our sponsors. We couldn't bring you QB Talks free each month without the help of sponsors like these. So Gary, will you tell the audience a little about our sponsors for this month? And our first sponsor is Mineral Tree.
You got it, Murph. Thanks. Accounts payable management is riddled with outdated manual processes that consume valuable resources, and a common pain that Mineral Tree observes is the inability to focus on value-added projects due to the time constraints related to manually entering invoice data and executing payments. Now you can effortlessly capture and pay those invoices with end-to-end AP automation from Mineral Tree. Seamless integration with QuickBooks eliminates the need for dual entry, and your GL is always accurate. Isn't it time to maximize your time and not spend it on manual processes? Visit mineraltree.com to learn more and request a demo today. You can also, we'll post up a polling question here that if you'd like to learn a little bit more about Mineral Tree, you can let us know. Just click yes, and we will forward your information over to them. If you click not at this time, we will not share your information. So that's the same with all of our sponsors always.
So folks, I'll just throw out a little statistic here. I was reading the other day, and I learned that more than 2.3 million hours are spent in the United States alone reviewing and overlooking vendor bills in order to get them ready for payment. And it certainly seems like AP automation is the way to go. And the more sophisticated the automation, the more time saving and labor costs you're going to recognize. So I would encourage you to at least look at the Mineral Tree solution.
All right, we'll go ahead and close that poll down, and thank you for participating.
And our next sponsor is our good friends at Canon Image Formula Document Scanners. Now, they've been one of our long-term sponsors here at QB Talks, and not only do I love my Canon scanner, but I love Canon because they also sponsor our Top 100 and our Pro Advisor of the Year awards, and they have done so for each year. So I really appreciate Canon as a sponsor, and like I said, I love my Canon scanner. Gary, you want to tell the folks a little about Canon scanners?
Yeah, actually, it's a really good point on the Pro Advisor of the Year in the Top 100. I mean, they were the first ones in the gate with us. They were right there from the start. So it's a great thing to point out. So yeah, Canon has, like it shows on the screen there, Canon offers mobile to office to high volume production scanning for your tax and accounting workflow. If you want to go paperless, they've got a scanner for that, or if you want to go out and meet with your clients, they've got a scanner for that. All of their scanners are Twain compliant, which basically means it'll work with pretty much any software that you have. It comes with certain integrations with software solutions like Box.com Evernote, and about 20 others that they have baked into their Capture on Touch software. But as I said, they work through Twain, works with most any software solution. So if you'd like to learn a little bit more and receive a discount code for Canon scanners, you can just say yes in the poll question that I am about to launch. And again, same thing, you say yes, we'll forward your info and we'll send you an email. If you say not at this time, you will not hear from Canon. We'll leave this open for about 5 more seconds so we can unleash Gita and let her wow you with her knowledge. Go ahead and close this out in 3, 2, and 1. Thank you for participating.
So I want to remind you to type your questions into the question and answer box, the question panel in the GoToWebinar panel. Don't type them into the chat. We'll be trying to answer some of your questions during the webinar, and we'll try to take a few choice questions near the end and let Gita answer those verbally. I also want to tell you that today's webinar will be available in our webinar archives at Insightful Accountant. You'll be able to watch a replay of the webinar, and you'll also be able to download a PowerPoint of the PDF. So you can access that from our home page simply by using the search box in the upper right of the home page and looking for archives. And those materials, the recorded webinar and the PowerPoint, will probably be available no later than Monday. Gita is an accountant, a business consultant, an entrepreneur, a landlord, and she brings her practical solutions to business owners, contractors, real estate investors, property managers, and yes, pro advisors. She will be teaching at QuickBooks Connect next month. Gita has been an accountant for over 30 years. She's an advanced certified QuickBooks Pro advisor, and she's also certified in Enterprise, Point of Sale, and QBO. She is an Intuit Premier reseller and an elite member of Intuit's Trainer Writer Network. Gita has been named to Insightful Accountant's Top 100 Pro Advisors since the list was incepted in 2014, and in 2015 she was named our Top Niche Practice Pro Advisor because of her expertise in real estate and property management. She has been a featured speaker at numerous conferences and events, and she is also a prolific writer, as you will see. She develops a lot of content, and she has brought her accounting background, business knowledge, and experience with rental properties together in order to author an entire series of books entitled Managing Properties with QuickBooks. With her years of experience in accounting, training, and business services, combined with her expertise in financial software solutions, Gita not only gives her clients an unparalleled edge, but she can give you an unparalleled edge as a pro advisor in supporting your real estate and property management clients. I can honestly say that everything I know, and I do mean that, folks, everything I know about property management and real estate accounting, I learned from Gita. So join me in welcoming my good friend Gita to QB Talks. Gita, are you there?
I'm here.
Okay, I'm going to send you the ball, and we can see your screen.
Perfect. Love it. Okay. Thank you, Gary, for inviting me to the session, and Murph as well, you too. Today we are going to explore real estate and property management and property management accounting and real estate accounting as well. Murph did a great job in introducing myself, so I'm just going to skip this slide and go to the next and start with the agenda directly. Now, what we're going to cover today is what are the main 5 questions you should ask. Of course, there will be much more than what I have in here. A no-fail strategy to set up the books, 5 things you should not do in QuickBooks, and few things you should do as well. We're going to review some favorite apps that we use and recommend to our clients and answer your questions as well. What we are not going to cover today is any taxes, tax implications, depreciations, and on that note, let's get started with the 5 questions that we are going to address. So like any other business, when you start or when you go see a client, you always need to do a need assessment. Yes, these are going to be the basic questions, but we are going to go in depth as we go on to the next few slides. So, what is your business about? You want them to talk about it. You want to ask them a general question so they can start verbalizing and sharing what different aspects of business, segmentations of their business they are involved in. They could be an investor, they could be just a landlord, but somebody else is managing their properties. They could be a property manager, they could be managing vacation rentals, commercial, residential. We don't know till they start talking, and all you have to do is keep on probing those questions. Next, I would definitely ask, how many EINs do you have? That will depend on the number of QuickBooks file that you will be creating. Who filed your tax returns? Did they personally file their tax returns, or they hired a CPA or an EA or an accountant to file their tax returns? That's very important. You want to know what the experiences of the CPA or whoever filed the tax returns as well. Which tax form did you file? That will determine how you are going to set up their balance sheet accounts, especially their equity accounts and loan accounts. Will they be able to provide a copy of tax returns? If they say no, I would hesitate taking on a client, because even if they don't provide you with the 1040 with the SS number on it, you still need to know whether they are using Schedule E or they are filing 1120, 1120S, 1065. You want to know that. You want the opening balances to be accurate in your QuickBooks file before you start with the existing current year. How do you track details? You're using paper and pencil, Excel, another software. You need to know. And lastly, you do want to ask, how did they find you? Who referred you? Did they find you on the internet, or they were just driving by your office? Or what the reason is. For us, we were on the main road a couple years in a row, so people just stopped by and we got clients. But since then, we have moved, and that's not the case anymore. It's all on the internet with today's technology too. The next step is to ask them what software do they prefer. Which one would they want to use? Why are they switching? They like QuickBooks Desktop or online? What made you decide? If they said, my accountants, my CPA told me to use QuickBooks Online, I would still talk to them about the pros and cons about which software to use, which is good for their industry. Because the accountant in the end, whoever is filing their tax returns or doing a strategy session with them, they're going to review that file once in a blue moon, once a year or every quarter. So you want to make sure you want to learn more, not how the software works, but what the needs are of the client, the prospect you have in front of you, and advise the right solution. And what date they would like to start entering the data if it's a new client who's never used any software, especially QuickBooks, because that's what we are going to implement. If they say they are currently using a software, you want to know what other softwares they are using. Does it integrate with QuickBooks? If the software does integrate with QuickBooks, why not? Does it automatically calculate everything they need? For example, property managers would need to calculate property management fees, create owner's checks. Those are a few examples. And if you're using a property management software, can you reconcile the bank account in that specific software? If it does not, then you need to tell them to either switch a software, or you're going to be doing some double work in there, because you would have to replicate all the information that is in the property management software and enter it in QuickBooks so you can reconcile the bank account. So what we recommend to our clients is make sure you have a property management software. If you do, have an account specially for all the funds that you receive on behalf of the owner and spend on behalf of the owner. That way, your work is simplified. And why do they want to switch to QuickBooks, right? If they want to let go of the existing property management software, what are they not fulfilling? Are their goals not being met? What do they want to achieve? And why do they want to switch to QuickBooks? The most common reason I hear is, well, QuickBooks is a cheaper solution, which it is. So we talked about some basic questions to be asked. Now let's get into more detail and address each real estate and property management segmentations of the industry. Of course, there are more than what we are going to discuss today. Real estate professionals, they could be agents and brokers. Agents is a simple accounting system, just like our consulting and bookkeepers and CPAs. Money coming in, money going out, as simple as ever. Brokers. If an agent is a single broker, if an agent is also a broker and they do not have any agents working under them, it's a single owner broker. So they would be treated just like agents. And their books would be set up as well exactly the same way as the agents, except for a few accounts, additional accounts. But when it comes to a brokerage firm who manages multiple agents, who has multiple agents selling and buying properties and helping the property owners, they would have to calculate commissions, agents' checks, agent statement. So you need to ask them a question again. Brokerage firms are also sometimes use a third-party software to manage their agents and the properties. So if they have a brokerage firm, a brokerage software, does it calculate the commission, agents' checks, and produces agent statements? If not, you need to replicate that right within QuickBooks, and it would be double work if they are not being able to sync the software as well. Real estate investors. Now, they could be way more than what we are talking again, but the main ones are flips and rentals. Flips is buy and sell, and rentals would be buy and hold. So the questions are, how many properties do you flip every year? Do you borrow money from private lenders? It's very important to ask them about private lenders because you need to track, as a bookkeeper or an accountant, you need to track where the money is coming from, when it is due, and how often it is due, and which property it was borrowed for, specific. Sometimes they borrow money lump sum just to put it in a big pot where they can distribute it any way they want it to a specific property. When that happens, you definitely need to track the money you use for that specific property, because at the end of the day, when you sell the property, you need to know what your asset is and what your liability is for that specific property. So it's very important. The other reason is when the payment is not made, the interest payment is not made in time, they have a very high late fee. So you want to make sure you have those dates right. Rentals. You want to ask how many units are rentable, not how many units are rented. How many are rentable, because that will give you an idea how to price your fees, whether it's going to be flat fee or an hourly rate. And how many properties do you rent out, especially when it's a property manager involved. Now, one of the other reasons I forgot to mention was how many units are rentable. When you're doing the books for somebody, if that unit is not ready to rent, all the expenses incurred before that date goes as an assets. After it is ready to rent, the repairs and maintenance are put on the profit and loss as an expense, and only capital improvements are then put on the balance sheet as a fixed asset. That is for rentals. Now, these are the basic questions you would ask, but let's go more in depth on different types of rentals. Commercial and residential rentals. Rent roll applies to both commercial and residential rentals. Do they need a rent roll? Why do they need a rent roll? Whom are they going to give the rent roll to? Because everybody who wants a rent roll, there's a different purpose and different format they want that report to go to. When it comes to commercial rentals, do they need a lease summary? Or when a question arises, they just go and pull out the lease and read that 20-30 page lease, because commercial rental leases are long and very detailed. Do they need escalations? That is, rent escalations are calculated on percentage of rent on their income or gross sales or any other means they can think of. Commercial rentals is more detailed than residential. CAM, do they charge common area maintenance? If they do, then how do they charge the tenant? Do they charge them a fixed fee every month, and then at the end of the year they reconcile the common area maintenances towards the actual spend amount? Lease option. I am sorry, I don't know what that is. Lease options is when a lease is signed with a tenant, they have a 5-year lease, and they have an option to renew the lease for a 3-year term for 5 years each. So they can choose to renew it for the next 15 years. When they do that, they have always a rent escalation section in there in the lease. So by giving them a form to enter all the lease summary, in the lease summary, all the details that you need to enter into QuickBooks and keep track of it. So commercial, as you can see, is very detailed. Now, commercial rentals are also apartments, but apartments are a flat fee as any other residential units, but in the industry, apartments are considered a commercial rentals. Commercial rentals do not have lease summary, escalations, CAMs, and lease options. Let's go to vacation rentals. How do they track guest payments? Where do they send invoices? How do they send it? Do they type it in Word? Do they do it in Excel? Do they use Google Drive? Are they using a reservation software? Is that reservation software tracking the guest payments dues? You guys must have already rented from Airbnb. That's one of a reservation software as well module. The other one is VRBO, and there are tons of them. Then there are softwares that go to all these vacation websites and bring it all into one main software. That's where all the dates are combined from all different reservations, online reservations, into one central location. Now, does that integrate with QuickBooks? Does it handle deposits? How do guests pay them? And lastly, about tax. How do they pay the taxes? Who pays the taxes? If it's a property manager, are the taxes given to the owner? Or does the property management company retain the tax and they pay it on behalf of the owner? Lastly, we are coming to property management company. Property management company is a company that manages other property owners' units or properties and collect the security deposits, charges them a management fee. After the expenses are deducted, they issue an owner's check, they track the reserve funds, and issue a report every month in summary and detail. So that's how what the property management company does. Now, they may do some repairs, they may not. A property management company may just collect rent and not worry about the repairs. So there are different services, and every property management company works a different way. And don't forget to ask them whether they mark up their expenses also, the repairs and maintenance. That's very important. Talking about security deposits. Security deposits, many times they agree to give the security deposit received from the tenant to the owner the same month they receive it. And the other sense, the property management retains the security deposit till the tenant moves out. So all these questions have to be answered. Now, do you think you would like to go into real estate and property management niche? If you do, which segmentation would you like to start with? Okay, if you're a bookkeeper, real estate agents are great, but at the same time, they don't want to spend the money because it's not too much work for them. It's money coming in and money going out. So last year, we had a panel discussion on niches at QB Connect. And I interviewed 10 niche consultants, and we have an ebook ready for you to see what the trials and triumphs were for each consultant. So you can download this book if you want to and see if you want to create a niche, either in an industry or a service. Set up the books. So how do we set up the books? It's very simple to start with. with a no-fail strategy that we created. You would create owners as classes and customers. Your properties would be subclasses of owners and jobs of owners. And your units would be jobs of properties. Do not create units as subclass, because at the end of the day, the owner wants to see reports by property, because that's the way they file their tax returns. Now, if they want details for the units, you can always pull up a profit and loss by job to give them the report. So you can see we can use the jobs and property class at the same time to get different reports for what the owner needs. 5 things you should not do in QuickBooks. Of course, I have more than 5, but these are the quick list that I think we can address. For QuickBooks Desktop, most frequently when I get a call, the first thing I want to see a full-blown profit and loss and balance sheet. I don't look at the amounts, I just look at the names. And most of the time, the account names are owners' names, property names, unit names. No, that doesn't work. That would make your profit and loss and balance sheet 50 pages long. If I look at their profit and loss, I can see property name and then repairs and maintenance and landscape for each property. There is no way you can ever reconcile those accounts. So make sure you do not do that. Use your class and the customer feature that is there, and that makes your job easy. Bounce check feature, do not use that because it creates a journal entry. Transfer fund feature, do not use that because one of the reports do not come out right, and the class is still not working right with that for us in reporting purposes. Units as class name, that's a big no. Do not use units as class name. Instead, use it as customers, jobs. Disclaimer on all the reports. Especially if you're a property management company, put a disclaimer on all the reports that go out. Because if that report goes out to the owner saying balance sheet for the owner or profit and loss for the owner for X amount, this ABC property, if they file the tax returns on that based on those numbers, then it's going to be wrong. And yes, one of my clients did get sued, of course, before they came to me. So we made the change and it was a lot better. And they got it approved by the attorney also. So it's a good way to add the disclaimer and go to the next step. For QuickBooks Online, of course, we talked about account names and we talked about unit as class name for QuickBooks Desktop. The same rule apply. Automating your bank feeds. I love that feature and I hate it as well. So why don't we use automate bank feeds? Say you're managing 10 properties and you have 10 utility bills coming in. But when you enter the transaction from using the bank feeds, it does not specify which property it is for. So it's a good idea to manually data enter the receipt for the money spent for each property. So keep that in mind, because at the end of the year, you're going to be spending way more time looking at those reports and finding all the information. As well, do it from the get-go. So let's talk about a little bit about differences between online versus desktop. So still, I have a question. I would ask my client, how do you want to use the QuickBooks? Do they want to use it as a property management software or a financial software, an accounting software? Yes, there are two different things, and that's where learning the back office management is so crucial, so important in this industry. Accounting, we all know, but don't ask me about debits and credits. I get lost sometimes. That's why we try to use all the features that QuickBooks allows us to use instead of entering journal entries. So my $1,000,000 question, always put your clients first, right? So which software is a good one? For QuickBooks Desktop, anything for rentals and property management company, we go for QuickBooks Desktop. For QuickBooks Online, we'll stick for agents, brokers, and flips. And when you're using a third-party property management software that tracks everything from the property management side, then the QuickBooks Online is a great solution. But remember that bank account, you should be able to reconcile the bank account in that property management software. So you can add a summary at the end of the month into QuickBooks for that specific bank account. Keep it simple, right? Self-employed, you can use it for real estate agents, is the best software out there. But mind you, many real estate agents work part-time, so they may have a second or third business they need to keep track of, incomes and expenses. So maybe self-employed may not be the right solution, but you would not know till you keep on asking them and probing them for answers. So what can you not do in the online version? Online version, one drawback is they don't have too many custom fields. They have only 3. And we cannot use all those fields and get reports. They don't have vendor type. They don't have customer type. Just to start, talking about 2 things is more than enough to drive me nuts, because at the end of the day, if I want to send a letter, mail a letter or an email only to tenants, I cannot get that list from QBO. Unless you guys have a trick up your sleeves, I would love to know. Second, I cannot duplicate my preferences and my setting to another QuickBooks Online file. I can import accounts, but I have to manually go and create sub-accounts. I cannot replicate my custom reports into another QuickBooks file. So you see, I'm not a lover, I'm not a fan of QuickBooks Online, though I love it for other businesses. All this can be done in the QuickBooks Desktop version. So, how do you decide which software is good for your client? You have to do your need assessment, and you do not make a decision because one software is cheaper than the other, and that is the way you want to run your business, not your client's business. Meaning that you are only interested in QuickBooks Online and not with QuickBooks Desktop. Okay? I am not telling you how to run your business, but the clients are always put in first. We have converted so many clients back to desktop version, and they are so much happier. So ask questions, see what is best for them. Apps. Let's discuss some of my favorite apps that we use with QuickBooks. Money. It's great for property management softwares. Creates management fees, owner's checks, owner's reports, calculates and posts it in QuickBooks. It has saved my clients 4 days a month just by using those apps. Other property management softwares are Property Boss, PropertyWare, Rent Manager, especially less than 2,000 units. And Yardi is one of the best out there. If you have the funds, if your clients have the funds, not you, then definitely send them to Yardi. It's a great software. For brokers, we use Broker Mint. For importing Home Depot receipts, which helps investors, managers, and flippers as well. We share QB files with our clients using QBox, timesheets and scheduling, T-sheets. It's a great hit with brokers. Recurring payments, we use Bill and Pay. We love it. Document management is HubDoc, of course. Everybody knows about HubDoc. Import transactions, we use Transaction Pro because we love it. We have used it so many times. Of course, and hosting, we use Skyline Cloud Services. One of the reasons is because we have developed apps and they are the only one who has taken us to host our desktop apps on their server. So it's a great win-win for us and our clients as well. And hoping it is for your clients too. These are favorite apps. There are so many out there, countless, and I'm learning every day from Murph and Hector and everybody else. So, what does Gita say? Gita says QuickBooks is a total solution for property management and financial management. So, before you sign in with a client, ask them why they want to use QuickBooks. Is it for property management or financial management? Right? And the only way you're going to learn about property management if you know how they operate their back office. And you have to spend time with them. It may be non-billable initially for first couple clients, but then you'll be a pro at it and you'll be able to take in any questions or anything that is thrown your way. I did say that many times. So if you're interested in learning more, we have started a certification course for real estate and property management for different segmentations of the industry. So if you have any questions, let us know. And Murph?
So Gita, can you back up and give everyone the address for the ebook on niches?
I'm going to, there we go.
There it is. So everyone, all of you who have chatted in and asked questions about this address, there it is. It's fasttrackconsulting.com/niche ebook. Okay, and Gita, you want to also show them your slide about your various publications?
Yes, thank you. Okay, so these are just a few. So we have reference books for almost all the industries I have talked about today and more. And we have books for landlords. It's a different system than for managers. So each and every segmentation of the industries, we have reference guides for landlords and for managers. They are two different systems and two different businesses. And we do have few online courses as well. And they include plug-and-play templates for QuickBooks Desktop. For QuickBooks Online, we have the accounts and list, products and services in an Excel spreadsheet that you can import it directly on your own.
And so, you know, one of the questions that was asked at noon that I will just mention here is people wondered why she didn't have all these books for QuickBooks Online, all the same books. And it's very simple, folks. QBO is changing every month, and to try to keep a book current, more or less 11 different books I think Gita has, to try to keep all of them current, if she was to have one of those books for QBO for each of the topics, it would be almost impossible. So what she tries to do is you know, provide electronic information about your related requirements if you're going to use QBO. And that really kind of brings up one of the questions that I have, and it was, would it be beneficial to use QBO to track a homeowners association?
Yes and no. It goes back to the same question I asked. How do you want to use the software? Do you want to use it as a property management software, or a financial software, or an accounting software, in other words? So if you say, no, I want to track all this other information about the members, then QBO is not a good suggestion. Okay? And if you just want to keep track of the debits and credits and the dollar amount, then QBO is a great solution. The other thing to remember is, question to ask is, what are they using to track all the other information? Are they using Excel? Are they using other softwares? That's where your decision factor will be made once you get those answers. So that's why it's a yes and a no.
Okay. Another question was, should flippers be using work in process like spec home builders?
Yes, definitely.
Okay.
Definitely.
Let's see here. So another question that came in at noontime, folks, that I thought was very interesting was they wanted to know if it would be appropriate for real estate agents to use QuickBooks Online Self-Employed, because it would allow them to capture their expenses, and they could take and simply record their commissions as income, and then QBSE would help them calculate their quarterly tax liabilities. So Gita, what do you think about that?
It's a great solution, the self-employed for the agents, because it keeps track of them. And my only big concern is when they talk about, keeping track of their taxes, how much they have to pay. It really depends on their whole tax return per se. But if that is the only solution they're looking for, then self-employed is a great software to use for agents. At the same time, you need to ask the agents, what other businesses do they have? Do they have multiple businesses? If they do, then they will need multiple files. So in that case, paying for self-employed and QuickBooks Desktop or any other software may not be the right solution. You may want to use QuickBooks Online, then keep everything in multiple QuickBooks Online software, I should say. So if it's a standalone agent and do not have any other income except for the commissions, then that was a good solution.
Okay. A question that came in was, do your books on flipping contain forms that are not strictly accounting? For example, they're used for management, estimating, and running the remodel process.
No, it does not, because we focus only on accounting, taking into consideration their management and back office. So if you're doing estimates in QuickBooks, you can easily create those right within QuickBooks.
Okay. And a question that came in was, since the owner is being recorded as a customer and the property is recorded as a job, and the unit is recorded as a sub-job under the property, is the tenant recorded as a sub-job under the unit?
Yes. If there are multiple units, then only you need to add the units and make it a sub-job of the units. If the property is a single unit and there's only one tenant, then you would create that tenant under the property.
Okay. And someone has mentioned here, our property manager uses GeniePad for member tracking. Are you familiar with that?
Nope.
Okay.
Well, let me know when the genie gets out of the bottle.
Yes. And folks, do you have any other questions?
Hey Murph, while we wait just to see if any other questions pop up, let's launch this poll for just to see if anybody would like to get any direct information from Gita on just various things that she's covered, her training materials. So
I
just
know at least
post yes, we'll send it to you. If you don't say anything, we won't, or if you hit not at this time, we won't.
I know one of you mentioned that you had a little bit of difficulty getting to the ebook. So if you sign up here, your email address will go to Gita and she'll make sure that you get the information you're looking for.
Gita, somebody is saying they're trying to order a book from your website, but it's not going to the order page. Don't know if that's something you want to check after we get done here or not. But
yes. Can you ask them to send me an email also?
Yep. What's your email? Oh, never mind. He said will do. Got it.
Yep.
And so I need to remind everybody that next month on November the 8th, we will be back to our regular second Wednesday of the month schedule for QB Talks. Liz Scott will be joining me for our quarterly QuickBooks Online Fireside Chat. We will be providing a review of the features that have been added to QBO over the last 3 months, and also the features that have been incorporated into QuickBooks Online Accountant. And hopefully we're going to give you a sneak peek at some features that are on their way. I always enjoy these chats with Liz because we get to banter back and forth about the pros and cons of cloud computing. So be sure to tune in on Wednesday, November the 8th at either 1 p.m. or 6 p.m. Eastern for the latest info on QBO and QBOA. Lastly, I want to thank you for attending and to say a special thanks to Gita for sharing her wealth of knowledge with us. I look forward to seeing you on November 8th, and until then, I hope everyone has a safe and happy Halloween. Bye now.